Notti senza cuore, da non aver pietà, a parlare agli angeli qualcuno sentirà. Notti senza nome, da far tremare il cielo.
About 2 years before that, all of a sudden she started with this bronchial problem and a cough, and then it would go away for a while, and then it would get worse for a while. So we worked together, and what transpired was that she had been a nurse in like a veterans hospital. Is that what you call it? Anyway, in a veterans hospital, and had formed a relationship, a little old man there that was very weak and was dying, but at the same time he was very social. You know, he'd drag himself out of bed and into the wheelchair and go around bringing books to people and that sort of stuff. And they had a really good relationship. And the day he died, she wasn't able to be at the hospital. She was supposed to be on duty, but she wasn't. And she came back in the next day. She switched shifts and asked, well, where's my friend? You know, his bed is empty. And I said, well, he passed. Yesterday, when you weren't here, he asked for you, but you weren't here. So it turned out that he wasn't being vindictive or anything, but when he passed, he felt he really had to see her again. So when she came in the next day, he attached to her and was trying to make himself heard by her. You know, like, I'm Joe, I'm here, I just wanted to say goodbye sort of thing. But in 2 years, he couldn't accomplish it. But he kept giving her this bad chest, this bad cough, hoping that she would seek help. And eventually it got around to the energy release, and that's when we found out that's what it was. So, that is resolved. She knows he's there, he just wanted to say goodbye, and that he wasn't upset with her, and not to beat herself up about it, that she wasn't on duty that day. So they talked, they had a conversation intuitively, and then afterwards we released him into the light, because he was an earthbound spirit. Earthbound spirits are a little easier to deal with because you get a name and you get why they're there and how long they've been there, and then you can release them into the light. And the majority of the time they want to be released into the light as soon as, even if they've been someone that came thinking that they're protecting the person. You just have to talk to them and allow them to know that it's really not beneficial for anyone to take on someone else's life and energy. It's not beneficial for the person that they're doing it to, and it's not beneficial for the entity that it's time for them to move on. So he left. Now after that, after you've successfully removed that energy, release that energy to wherever is appropriate for it to be released to, you have a little bit of a vacuum there, because there was this energy there that was not supposed to be there, but now it's gone. So we do have a technique that you use that's called the sealing light technique, and basically what it's saying is your intention is not to allow that place, that energy, to be filled with anything else except your own or the universal or divine energy, the healing energy. So we call in the light, we call in the healing energy. This is where belief systems come into it again too, because some people you're working with will say, well, I don't believe in that. So you have to find something that's going to go along with their belief system to be able to heal that place. And this is something they have to work at. We can't do that for them. This is now their responsibility. Responsibility is very big in this technique. I mean, it's not just like, oh, I've been attacked by something and now we got rid of it and that's the end of it. No. For some reason, energy formed an attachment with you. We have to look at that reason. There is no fault involved. It's not a judgmental process. It's just the way it is. The energy attached, and we don't want the energy to be there anymore, otherwise you wouldn't have come to have this treatment done. You find out about it, you release it. You give the person the technique that they need to do their own healing work, and if they feel they're not up to doing that themselves, then you make appointments with them, make sure that they have the help that they need to do that ongoing healing work, which is really necessary. Because in the belief system of the spirit release therapy anyway, and in the work that I do, my belief system tells me that once we've released whatever it is to the appropriate place it's supposed to go, it is not going to return. Something else might return. You might draw something to you, some other energy, but the one that we've released successfully, and you know at the time whether you've been able to do that or not. At the time, you'll know if it's been successful or not. You'll know more than the person that you're working with. Because that's where the responsibility comes in, is that when you're sure you've released it to the appropriate place, you've given the client and you've worked with them with support as far as healing what's where the energy was before, because you have to fill up that space. You have to make sure that it's healed. And that could take quite a while. But the first 2 weeks are the most important. To continually do some type of technique that they can accept with their belief system to do this healing work. That's very important. And they understand that that energy has been released. But if something... At the time, you also look for anything else, because usually if you have one, you have more. Very rarely is there only one attachment. There's usually more than one attachment. So you do look for others while you're there. But then you do have a follow-up in a week or 2 or a month, depending on the person's schedule, and you go over the technique again to see how things are going. But there's a lot of responsibility here. For one thing, let's say that an attachment... Okay, another earthbound spirit. An earthbound spirit attaches to someone who's never smoked cigarettes before. Person's in a bar. I like that one. Person's in a bar, has a fight. Somebody knocks him out onto the floor. Trauma. Right there. Earthbound spirit in the bar. This sounds like a joke, doesn't it? Earthbound spirit in the bar attaches to the person that's flat out on the floor. The earthbound spirit's a smoker. The person on the floor is not a smoker. They get up, they take him to the hospital, they go back home. The first thing the person says is, I need a cigarette. Well, they never asked for a cigarette before. Where'd that come from? So all of a sudden, that's the start of people knowing that they've contacted an attachment that's with them, because they want to smoke. So they seem to be better. Life's going on okay. Maybe they're a little more upset with people than they used to be, and maybe they get a little depressed at times and they don't seem to have the energy they used to have. But they're smoking 2 packs a day, so no wonder. They're not used to smoking. But this goes on maybe for 2 or 3 years. And they try to stop smoking. They go to the doctor, they go to the hypnotist, they go all these different places to try and stop smoking, but they really can't stop the smoking. Finally they decide, No, it might be something more than that. They read in an article or they go to a lecture and they think perhaps it is some kind of energy attachment. They go through the process of having that energy released. The energy's gone. The earthbound spirit has gone into the light. We know that for sure. They continue their healing process. But physically, they've been smoking for 3 years. Their body still wants nicotine. Their body doesn't know that it was just this other energy that was telling you they wanted to smoke. They have a physical addiction now. So then the responsibility of the person is, do they want to quit smoking or don't they? They can now because they don't have that added energy that's attached to them, pushing them towards smoking any longer. Okay? But they still have the physical urge, and they may have contracted also a psychological or emotional urge to smoke. So then this responsibility and choice is up to the client. Will they quit smoking or won't they quit smoking? It's up to them. But they don't have that excuse anymore. They can't go out and say, oh, I smoke because I'm attached by some spirit that has to have a cigarette. You can't use that anymore. That excuse is gone. So in a way, it can be a very scary therapy because you have to then take responsibility for your own life. You can't blame it on some attachment. Now, did that help with the going through the series of events that goes through there?
Have you had any experience with black magic?
Personally?
People have had entities put in by black magic.
Entities put in by black magic. A little.
Attached to them.
Yes, you mean attachments. Well, they're usually mind thoughts. Black magic is generally a mind thought, or it's sent there. It's demonic, sort of little black thing. That's how people have described it to me anyway. That has been sent by people who do black magic. Right. A little. I've had a couple of clients with that, yes? Any questions about that?
How easy is it to get rid of the entities put there by black magic? Because they're not just people...
it depends. It depends on what it was. Now, the one that I was working with was a lady had married the boyfriend of one of her girlfriends. Okay, so it was sort of a triangle sort of thing. And when they got married, then she started having real problems, and she knew that it was someone directing this towards her. So then when we worked with it, it turned out that it was a small demonic thing. How we worked with that was that we explained to it that if it wanted to go into the light, all is accepted by the light. And that it didn't have to fear the other person. And also a lot of forgiveness had to be going on there too. In the person that I was working with, they had to truly want to forgive the person that they had hurt. It did turn out very well, though. I mean, as far as I know, things are still going well with them. That was about a year and a half ago. Yes?
Have there been any before and after tests to see whether DNA structure, for example, has been altered, with the removal of a soul?
I have no idea. I'm sorry, I can't help you with that.
There has.
There has, okay. There's been some DNA tests. You might want to discuss it.
You actually find that people have been still independent, depending on what it is that's actually attached. If the spirit, when it was incarnate, had insulin deficiency, when it attaches itself, it actually changes the pancreatic function while it's in there and present. Sorry.
Really? Oh.
There we go.
Dove c'è una via di uscita che trascina via di qui in un volo bellissimo sopra un mare bellissimo. È stata una battaglia persa.